Tonight on the Mac to the Future Livecast Go, privacy under attack again. And I wish I could say it was from an unexpected source. There are a bazillion new iPhones coming out in 2020, according to analysts. And how do you make every phone have the same port for charging by not having one at all? And also, there's a new edgy web browser out there. It's called Edge. No, I don't have a team of writers. But that's all tonight on the Mac to the Future Livecast. Go. Welcome everyone to the Mac to the Future Go livecast. Things are a little bit crazy and different tonight. Trying out Streamyard, and so far it's pretty good. And I got my usual gang here. What do you guys think of it? Actually, let's start with Mr. Ginsburg. Hello there, Mr. Ginsburg.
Hello there, Mr. Serle. It is actually quite good. I like the video. I actually was able to hook up to my unit here in my Rodecaster Pro and listen. I can hear myself as well as you, and which is nice. And yeah, I think this service could be a good thing. And then plus we got a lot of people in the chat room, which is more exciting.
Well, I wonder if we had this many before and we just didn't know it.
I don't know.
Hard to say. And we also have Mr. Warren Sklar. Hello there, Mr. Sklar.
Hey, I like it. The way I rate how good the service is how little guy curses when setting up.
Oh, so, trying to set up. I didn't curse at all.
So that's it. That's a zero. It gets a 0 cursed review on that so far. So yeah, so far so good. I like it.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a number of things to talk about tonight. Some quick takes. PC sales grew in the first time since 2011. That kind of blows my mind. PC sales have been in the dumps since 2011. What does that tell you guys?
8 years. Jeez. 9 years. 9 years now.
Yeah.
But this year obviously is because Windows 7 was ending this year.
That's true.
That's why the sales went up this year.
What, you think because of what again?
Windows 7. Yeah.
Windows 7 support ended yesterday.
Oh, right.
So people are buying
to get ready to do Windows 10.
Companies are buying new computers to replace the old ones and to cycle things. So it is definitely, it's not Macs because Macs are down this year. So it's definitely PC sales.
Say it ain't so.
Not because of me. I'll say.
Didn't you bought like 2 laptops last year?
I buy 2 laptops a year. It seems
at least maybe 3.
I'm still on a 2015 MacBook Pro.
I have a problem, so yeah. That's
well, at least you admit it.
Well, is it a problem? Okay, yeah. Well, many problems.
It's not a problem for me. My wife might have a problem, but I don't have the problem. So. Yes, Windows 7 is
dead as of yesterday.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay, next quick take. Advertisers are having a fit, mind you, with many iOS users opting to give them no data when their apps aren't being used. Now, when I read this is the kind of backassery that a lot of these people do. That just kind of stunned me, and I didn't even realize it was going on. The default setting for a lot of these apps was that they got information about you, whether their apps were running or not. And starting with iOS 13, Dave can back me up on this.
Yeah,
you were kind of given the choice as to whether or not they were going to receive information from you when their apps weren't being used, and a lot of people are opting out of it.
As well they should. I think that was crazy. Why? That's why these ad companies don't like iOS 13. Too bad, because that's what it should be doing. I'm thrilled that Apple's doing that, because we don't. Why do you want to be followed when you're not even using the app? And that's the problem. A lot of people download apps, look at them for 5 minutes, and decide, I'm not going to look at it again, then just forget about it. It's in there, but meanwhile, they're monitoring where you're going and checking out and getting ads based on that. So crazy.
Yep. And that's about it for quick takes. We have a bunch of other stories tonight. The first one, it seems like lately, every single week, there's some kind of story that has political overtones. And frankly, I would rather just stick with tech, but we're in the doldrums. As 2020 goes on, there'll be more stories about tech, but some of this stuff you just can't get away from. The Pensacola iPhone, which is the iPhone that was owned by the crazy SOB that basically went to the Pensacola Air Station and caused a bunch of problems. Apparently, there was a request by the U.S. government for access to the phone, which was denied by Apple. President Trump and the FBI, along with the Attorney General, are angry with Apple for refusing to unlock the phone of a man who attacked people at the Pensacola Air Station in Florida. Apple has said, as they have said many times before, that it cannot access data that is encrypted with a passcode and stored on an iPhone, and that it would have to build a specific tool for doing so, known in the tech industry as a backdoor. The company can and does, however, hand over data stored on its own iCloud storage servers to law enforcement officials, which often includes backups of iPhones, including iMessages. So considering we just went through this a few years ago with the incident that happened in California, and the government was able, through a third party, to get access to the information that was on that phone. So why is this even coming up again?
Well,
what do you think, Warren? Let's go to Warren. What do you think, Warren?
I have thoughts.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I did go full screen with you, so we need thoughts.
That's good. Now I gotta talk. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying. More or less, we went through it before. They found another company that's able to do it supposedly, and they could still do it, especially on these older phones. I heard somebody saying this morning, or one of the podcasts, that when this happened in California, the Israeli company Celebrate was able to do it for $1 million. Now with these phones, it would cost like $15,000. People figured it out. I don't know if I don't think the government's pushing because of this case in particular, because I think they can go to these companies, external companies, to get it. But I think they're just trying to set a law or precedent, going forward, in case this keeps happening. Apple's doing what Apple does. They're not going to give in. I don't think they're lawyering up, the last I heard. And of course, the president tweeted out yesterday that, essentially that Apple should step up to the plate and unlock this thing. Politics aside, I think most people in the tech community who are getting involved with the story are more understanding on Apple's side than the government. And it's not that, they don't want to see, people safe.
Justice served or whatever.
Yeah, and people safe and things like that. But I think, when you have some knowledge of the technology, you understand that, A, it's not just like you snap your fingers and you could do it. And B, once you do it, it becomes an issue in case the wrong people get the technology in their hands. So I think, most people agree that it's not a good thing. I think the government, it's still going to push it, but I think even they know that Apple's not going to do it.
Okay. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the things Warren said. The other thing too is there's third parties out there that'll easily hack it. Why they did it before in San Bernardino for the last time? Why can't they go get someone again? There's somebody out there that's going to be able to crack this phone. So I mean, let them do it. The third party. I mean, Apple's doesn't have a key, and Apple isn't going to release it. And Apple, I think, was bravo to Apple and writing up they had a nice write up saying that basically we're not doing it. And like Warren said, politics aside, the technology community is embracing what Apple's doing. But politicians have to live with it. It's just not happening. They have to politate, and they have to live with it. So.
Yeah, I think this is more along the lines of they want the back door, so not necessarily so that they can look at information on individual phones when they want to look at individual phones, but if they have a back door into iOS, then a lot of times they wouldn't even need the phone. They through iCloud data, they can probably get most of the information that they want through that without ever actually having the phone. So, so it basically opens the door for government and companies and whoever else might own this tool that, I mean, let's face it, there's absolutely no way that a backdoor like this would remain just in the hands of the good guys for very long before it got out and basically any government would have it.
Right. No, it's bravo, Apple. I'll just keep saying it.
Okay. Next up, iPhone SE2. Rumor mongers are saying that an iPhone 8 equivalent, but with Face ID and a 5.4-inch screen. Both the iPhone 7 and 8 had 4.7-inch screens. This, along with at least 4 other iPhones, are supposed to be debuted in 2020. What do you think, Dave?
No, I think this is a decent rumor. I mean, I obviously we try to avoid the rumors. We talked about this in the news on In Touch with iOS. Yeah, I think bigger screen is smart. I mean, I think the 4.7 inches is not there anymore. But this looks like it's almost going to be like an iPhone 8 almost, as far as its size and what it's going to be packing. But no, good to hear. But they're saying there's about 4 or 5 different models are going to be coming out, and of course the cameras will get enhanced. And but this is great with Face ID. This is even more impressive. That's kind of telling you that the Touch ID may be on its way out. So
Warren,
yeah, I think it's big for the people are looking for a more affordable phone or something for a kid or something for the elderly. And emerging markets, I think it's basically where it's for. For the most part, I think it's, there's always people looking for a cheaper version of iOS that's current. And, obviously not for me, since I'm usually going go big or go home.
Direction.
But yeah, but I mean, certainly there is a market out there. But, this rumor's been going on for a couple of years. So we'll see.
Yep.
See how it goes.
Now, in my opinion, one of the things that made the iPhone SE as popular as it was that it wasn't as big. Because you have to remember when this came out, I think the iPhone 7 had just come out. So the original iPhone SE was essentially an iPhone 4 to 5 inch.
5.
Was it 5? Yeah, it was a 5.
The iPhone 4 or 5 form factor.
It was based on the 5S, I think it was, but it had the 6X, it had the 6S guts. Yeah.
Right.
So, which meant that it was fast and it was small. And I think that having a smaller phone as compared to, just having yet another super slab that we have, ever since the plus 5, plus 6-inch phones came out.
Right.
I would think that if Apple was going to go to a new SE phone, that it would be a smaller device for the people that don't want a great big phone.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think they want a smaller phone until they actually. I think at this point, people are not going to be used to it, and certainly, certainly going that small is going to be an issue. I think people like the idea of being able to put it in their pocket and not being so big. But once you actually use it and look at it, you're like, well, I really can't see anything on it because it's tiny. So, I think in theory, people think they want a tiny phone, but I think in reality, the iPhone 7 and 8, the normal ones, not the not the big ones, are probably
Right.
the right size for everybody.
Okay, now if this is correct, and they're saying a 5.4-inch screen, what size is the smaller iPhone now? What size is that?
It's right around that, maybe 5.5 or 5.8.
Yeah, something like that.
So it is it would be slightly smaller.
Slightly smaller, but
Yep.
by adding Face ID, that means they're going to get a fuller screen, so your experience will be better because then you don't have the frame. You don't have the framing around it. You don't have the Touch ID button.
Right.
So it's going
to be like
it would still be a smaller phone.
Smaller phone.
It would be like a smaller 10R, I
like
guess.
10R or 10, the old 10.
Yeah, kind of
or
like
the
that.
10S for that matter.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to the next story, the portless phone. This is kind of in response to something that's been going on in the EU for the last couple of years, where they had some legislation that they created that they wanted all smartphones to use the same kind of charging cable, same kind of charging port. In theory, because that would mean that there would be less waste, less e-waste that was being created, since if everybody's on the same type of charger, then if one goes bad, I who knows what they were thinking, but it was really not a great idea. And it looks like Apple may be trying to get around that by not having a charging port at all, where it's wireless charging for everything.
Yeah, well, it just coming back from CES, that would not be surprise me at all with the prevalence of wireless charging technologies. I mean, they're selling them like crazy. I mean, there was over 1,000 vendors that were related to iPhone and accessories relating to the iPhone, and I saw chargers on almost every one of these booths. So I would not be at all surprised that something like that could happen. I think it'd be a little foolish because some people don't want to do wireless charging, or they want to have to get that accessory in order to do it. But I'd be surprised if Apple did this. I mean, they've started trends before, but I'd be surprised.
What do you think? The Lightning port is dead or soon to be dead?
It could be. I mean, there's been a lot of chatter about that. Obviously, with the iPad Pro now being a USB-C port, it's all possible. I mean, a lot of the other phones out there now. I mean, all the Pixel phones are now USB-C, and other Android phones. So, it's a possibility that. I mean, looking at how long it went from the 30-pin connector to the Lightning connector, there was a good long time before Apple finally switched it over, and obviously that was way overdue because it was such a large plug. So it's definitely possible that I don't know if we would see it this year, but maybe in 2021.
Well, do you think that there'll be a lot of, because I remember when they switched from the 30-pin connector to the Lightning cable, there was a lot of pushback, especially for people who'd bought a lot of accessories. I mean,
I've got, and I'm sure Warren does too. We all have a big bin filled with the 30-pin adapters, and I still haven't gotten rid of them, and they're probably just going in the trash now. And unfortunately, I think about all the money I spent on those adapters too. So yeah, it's all possible. I mean, Apple did if you remember, they provided adapters that adapted 30-pin to Lightning for some folks who were complaining that they had all these accessories.
It didn't work for all the accessories.
It didn't work for all the accessories, so that's the only bad thing. So I mean, they for the EU, and this is what this article was about. They did ask that Apple provide adapters that adapt from Lightning to micro USB, like the previous a lot of the old phones have. So anything's possible. I mean,
well, the ones they sold in Europe, if that's what you're referencing, the ones they sold in Europe did have that adapter.
The adapter came in the box.
How? I mean, I just don't see how that's very useful.
Me either.
The one thing that is common on all of these phones was that they all connected up via USB 2. So if they all connected up via USB 2, who cares what's on the other end of it?
Right.
You're not. I just don't. I think this is a a problem that the EU is looking. The EU is looking for a solution for a problem that doesn't really exist.
Right. No, I agree.
Warren?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Johnny Ive would love to have no holes in the phone, but I mean, having no ports could, it might make it more waterproof. People wouldn't have to worry about breaking cables. There's some good in that. I don't think they'll ever do that because the convenience is not there, and of course Apple can't win because people get up in arms every time Apple changes cables, form factors. They can't win. Right now, if I was Apple, I would think they would move everything to USB-C probably sooner than anything else, and I think they should, especially because everything else now is getting USB-C too. Their laptops, the iPad Pro, things like that. The Lightning, that I think it's more of a licensing thing. They make more money off the Lightning cables too. I'm sure because they have to license that.
Yeah, dedicated Apple vendors.
That and I think they have to license. They have to license the certification, the works with Apple or whatever that is. So, they'll make more money off that, and if they keep the Lightning, less people complain about having to switch. So there's good and bad in all of them, but at this point, I think they should move everything at least to, if not to move, to be in line with other products, at least to be in line with their own products at this point. And Apple's the only thing, the Lightning cable's only powering one of their devices at this point. Compared to a bunch of other things, you got wireless on the watch, you got USB-C now on the laptops, USB-C on the iPad Pro. So I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag. So
what's left is the phone.
Yeah, make it make it all uniform, and with USB-C on the laptops now, people are complaining about that. You mentioned the USB 2 on the other end, but it's not always USB 2 on the other end now. A lot of bricks coming with things are now USB-C bricks. The ports on the back of MacBooks and the new Mac Mini and even the new iMacs are USB-C. So it's not as simple as I still have to find an adapter every so often to plug my phone into something, because I got a lot of USB stuff now. So it's time to move on.
Okay. The last thing we have for the evening is something that Warren put in, talking about the Edge browser. So this is a product from Microsoft, and as I understand, it's very expensive.
You can't afford it.
Yeah, it's out of your league.
Yeah, well, I keep spending money on microphones, so
this is true.
Yeah. Yep. It's so Edge. I'll start with it. So Edge is basically a little history. Microsoft started with Internet Explorer, obviously, and then moved on to Edge. As I said before, they like to do Ford SUV card names for some reason for the browsers. And Edge was their browser for a while, and then they decided they were not going to pursue that, and they were going to redesign Edge to go on the Chromium platform. And the Chromium platform runs Chrome and a few other browsers out there.
Brave, I think
Brave is on Chrome. So, a lot of people say, "Oh, it runs on Chromium. It's Chrome. It's Google." It's kind of maybe
it's just
back in the day.
Technology.
The underlying technology, but the underlying technology was done way before. Way before Google was a company that was trying to get your data. It was based on a technology that they made to browse the internet, and that was it. In the browser wars, when you had the Firefox, was based on a Mozilla platform, and then so things based on different platforms. But anyways, the goal is to standardize the technology behind the browsers to get a more uniformed experience. So, when some people open up web pages on one browser, it looks different on another, things like that. Any case, Edge went out on beta for Mac and PC probably about 6 months ago, and I've been playing with that since. And today they released their full version for Mac and PC, and I find it faster than anything else I've used so far. But browsers are weird, they change. Tomorrow Firefox will come up with a release or something like that, and that will be faster and better. And I mean, people seem to have this deep-rooted, loyalty to browsers, like it's like their pet. And for me, I just change to whatever's good and whatever works. And I know people are worried about privacy, but I don't think that's a problem with this either. So in any case, it's out, it works. I tried to install it on the PC today, and it came up in it started installing a Russian version, even though it was the English installer. Yeah. So that was a bit concerning for me. Yeah, and so I canceled that quickly.
I just downloaded it probably about half. I went and I had the beta version on the machine on my Mac, and I downloaded it not even 30 minutes ago. And I clicked the link, and then all of a sudden I'm getting the EULA that's in Japanese.
Yeah, so they that
so I got a little bit of bugs there.
There's some bugs in the download, so I mean, that didn't go as smooth as it could have been. But
what's the advantage of using the Edge browser versus Chrome or versus Safari? I mean,
what's the advantage?
They're all based on HTML5, aren't they?
What's the advantage of
following the HTML5 standard?
What's the advantage of using Firefox, Safari?
Yeah. I mean, what's the advantage of any of them? To be honest with you,
right? I mean, with my experience in the enterprise world, this is going to be big because enterprise world, a lot of people are stuck on Internet Explorer, and there's companies out there that have to use that still because they have a lot of old legacy systems that require Internet Explorer. Well, Internet Explorer has to go away. I mean, in fact, I went to Cisco's website the other day. I was using an IE, and it said you can't open this website in IE 11. So I mean, it's starting. So I think this is a win for Microsoft. The previous version of Edge that was originally created on Windows 10 was very bloated. It was not a very good browser. And I think Microsoft saw it right in the wall. It's like, you know what, this isn't really something we need to be in the business for anymore. We got plenty of other things to do. And with the way their Azure AD and cloud is all making big money now, then I think this was a smart move on their part. But I actually agree with some comments I'm reading saying that it is actually very good. It's fast because IE is terrible. Edge was the previous version of Edge was terrible, and it works really well. And to have it all cross-platform on both Mac and PC finally. I mean, last time there was a Microsoft browser on a Mac. Was it IE5? I think it was. So I mean, it's a long time coming for that. And you know what? There's other browsers. I mean, I've got Brave installed. I've got Firefox installed. And Firefox just has updated their version of the browser, and it's got some great new features in it and a lot more enhanced security. Blocking ads, that kind of stuff. So I'm talking to you right now in the Edge browser with this. I'm sure you are too.
You're soaking in it. Oh, but it's Palmolive.
It's Microsoft.
In IT, when I do IT support for people, and people call me up and say I can't open up this link in Chrome, but I could open it up in Firefox, and they want help, and I look at them like they have four heads. I'm like, well, just open it up in the browser that works. I mean, that's right. It's basically, we're in a world that's good. You have a choice of browsers, and not all websites work in every browser, and some are better than others. And there's a lot of choices. So use the one that works for you. And if you like Safari is great. I mean, they're all pretty good at this point. Any current browser is pretty good at this point. So,
Well, is anyone else out there that's following us on the live stream using Edge at the moment? I know because, of course, I have a Windows PC, Windows 10 PC at work, and some of
Right.
the software that we use, and this makes me absolutely crazy. Some of the software that they force us to use will only work in Internet Explorer.
Yep. Just
And-
like my experience.
And
I
it's
helped out.
you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
Internet
I helped.
Explorer.
They
I
need
helped out
to update.
I helped out a somebody who's in the reserve. So military is very
Oh yeah.
example of that. So he bought a new computer, and he's like, "Listen, I need to. There's a one thing that only works in Internet Explorer or whatever it was, but he needed to move. Like he wanted me to like image it and move it like to the new computer. I'm like, that's not a good. You don't want that. So after about an hour, I figured out how to get Edge to work in the program. So it's definitely governments, probably schools, the typical players are still lagging behind on things that will need Internet Explorer, but there's not a lot at this point. So
Okay, well, what about privacy? Frank was just asking about
What about
Edge's privacy.
Privacy is good. It's decent. I mean, it's you're not going to have it's just like Google Chrome. I mean, in the enterprise world, you're going to be able to lock a lot of things down. They're giving you all the ways of doing that. And even when you're using it for consumer, I think you're going to still have some good options for privacy. I don't think you'll have to worry. You can still private browse and all the other things that are available on the other browsers. So there isn't any difference. Like Warren said, it's a browser. I mean, there's all kinds of browsers out there, and other than IE11, which is just old technology. I mean, this one works well.
What about plugins? I mean, I've got
Yeah.
a
It's all
1Password
Chrome-based.
plugin.
It's all Chrome based. Yeah, you'll be able to use them.
So
Yep.
if it works with Chrome, it should work with Edge.
It's
It
Chromium
will.
based. Yep, it will.
So, I mean, the thing with privacy, though, just go back on there, and I've said this before, but you could go open up crazy, unsecure phishing pages on Safari, and that's not private. And you could go in, Google Chrome and, turn on incognito mode and go to DuckDuckGo, and that's all you do. And at that situation, Google Chrome is 100% more private than what you're doing in Safari. It's basically what you're doing in the browser and not the browser itself. So, people don't get confused between what a browser does and what it doesn't do. Yeah, basically, it's getting you on the internet more or less.
Okay,
Right.
well, we're just about finished here, but my friend Michael Lacey has a question. He wants to know, how many words a minute can you guys type? Have you ever like sat down and try to figure out how many words a minute you can type?
2, 1.
I am not
Maybe
I
3.
am not like one of those guys who could sit there, and be typing away in a keyboard with my hand, with my, eyes looking at this. I'm definitely hunt and peck. Now I've gotten really good
I'm a hunt and
at
peck
hunt
too.
and peck.
I don't do all.
I can probably do, I'm guessing 20 to 30 words a minute. But you know what? This is what makes me crazy. When I'll accidentally hit like the caps lock key,
No, I do it all the time.
and then I'll be typing, and then I'll look down, I'll look up to see what I've typed, and it's like rah 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 rah. Oh,
Yeah.
it's like I'm
I do-
yelling at myself.
I do so little typing that I've had the butterfly keyboard on different models of Mac for the last 4 years and never
Yeah.
had a problem. Not
Never.
one problem. That's a little typing I do.
Apple loves you.
Yeah,
I've-
pretty much.
I've
I
never
I
had
use
to
the
worry
trackpad
about
here and
that.
there.
I've never had to worry about the butterfly keyboard. I don't
No.
have a laptop that's young enough to
Right.
have dealt with it.
But I
Um,
barely type, so there you go.
But that's everything we got tonight. Unless
Yeah.
somebody in the chat room has something, or you guys have anything else you want to talk about.
Marcus makes a good point with the browser too. Is any new browser will be fast. It has nothing added, and that's true. Any browser, especially back in the day, you ever see the memes with the Internet Explorer that has pretty much every toolbar added to it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I always told people that you could tell the age of a person by the amount of added toolbars they have to Internet Explorer, pretty much. But you could crop up any browser with add-ins and things like that. So,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Okay. Well, then starting with Warren, Oh, you got something, Dave?
Yeah, one more thing. I see some Marcus had done a screenshot of or copy paste. He's got, it says Microsoft Edge beta build, and it's got the version. I pasted in the official build. So it looks like what they did was, because I disinstalled the official build and downloaded it and installed it, but it left the beta one behind. So because they're going to continue the beta test. They're going to continue the beta test. So
you have to. I had to uninstall it.
So I did uninstall. You do have to uninstall the beta version.
To
to have the official build. So.
Okay. Well then, let's start with Warren. Warren, where can people find out more information about you?
Oh, I'm on Facebook mostly. I'm in the Mac to the Future webpage along with a couple others. I do In Touch with iOS with David Ginsburg now. You can find me on Twitter at WSclore. You can find me in Guatemala. You can find me in my basement right now.
Put that back in.
You can find me in my basement now because I've been banished to my basement. But yeah, that's where I am.
Okay, Dave.
Yes, you can find me at intouchwithios.com. That's the website. When doing it with Warren. So glad he's joined on. Then we've been a blast. Got the new episode in the can. I just got to get it out and edited. We'll have that out this today or tomorrow. And you also can find me on Twitter at DaveG65.
And you can find more information about me. You can send me an email, guy@mymac.com. You can find me on the Twitters. I am Mac Parrot, and I am also Vert Shark. And yeah, every time I say that now, it's like I've been conditioned at the MyMac Podcast. Every time I say Vert Shark, it's like it's either going to be this short, we're going to need a bigger boat, or it's going to be this long orchestrated thing. Besides, of course, the Mac to the Future livecast, I also do the MyMac Podcast, which I just mentioned, with Mr. Gazmaz, as well as on occasion, every once in a while, I'll do a Guy's Daily Drive. I just did one last week, as a matter of fact. That's up there and ready to go. As a matter of fact, the audio version of this show, once I get it all edited, will be in the Guy's Daily Drive feed. That's where you can find that. And if you'd like to help support some of the crazy things that I do, I am on Patreon, patreon.com/Mac Parrot. I am on Ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/Mac Parrot. And I'm so confused now. The paypal.me /Mac Parrot. And that is going to do it for this evening. Thank you all so very, very much for joining us. We really, really do appreciate the fact that you have taken the time to join us here on the Mac to the Future livecast. And
hopefully
don't
just download it.
We'll be here next week.
Yes.
Yeah. Download it, listen, and watch.
Say goodnight, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
An email from Guy.
Yeah.
You can add that in post.
Yep.
Yeah. It'll all be in post.